Greetings and welcome to my video. My hope for this video is to show you where to get Morrowind Game of the Year Edition and the Tamriel Rebuilt mod pack, and demonstrate how to install these into the OpenMW game engine running on my Slackware Linux operating system. I'll start by executing the OpenMW game engine launcher. On the first run of the game, the program will prompt you with an installation wizard. I'll skip out of this to show you I have not yet installed the Morrowind or Tamriel Rebuilt game assets. We'll begin with the OpenMW game engine. It can be found online at openmw.org. It's available in Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. I personally download the source code from slackbuild.org and compile it into my operating system. It's been available since Slackware 14.1. It also includes the dependencies needed for playing the game. A quick search online for GOG games Morrowind will lead you to the GOG Games page for Morrowind Game of the Year Edition. It's currently available for $14.99. I've seen it on sale for as low as $5.99. Next, I'll surf to the Tamriel Rebuilt project website, which is a large-scale expansion mod for the game, which offers mainland adventures. 2 main files are required for the Tamriel Rebuilt mod pack. I, however, download 4. Currently, the Tamriel Rebuilt 42145-23-10-hotfix1.zip and either the Tamriel Rebuilt High Definition or Tamriel Rebuilt Vanilla assets are required. You can get the required files from either the Project Mir or from Nexus Mods. To download the files from Nexus Mods, you will need to create a user account. The high definition or vanilla game assets can also be downloaded from the main Mir or Nexus Mods. I also extract a single file from the Tamriel Rebuilt 42145-21-01 1612-1205-51.7z file to add a preview of the Morrowind mainland West Coast. I am unaware if this file conflicts with the current Tamriel Rebuilt mod pack file. It is also available at Nexus Mods. You can go in to the file selection and download it. It is the January 31st release from 2021. Tamriel Rebuilt 42 145 21 01 16 12 12 05 51.7z. And again, this is optional. It simply adds the preview of the West Mainland Coast. The Slackware Linux operating system provides all the programs necessary to extract the files except one: Morrowind Game of the Year. For that, we need to go to slackbuilds.org and obtain the program INNO extract. Compile and install it in order to begin the installation of assets needed to play OpenMW. Since I've already done the compile and installation of INNO extract, I'll continue on to the extraction and installation of the Morrowind Game of the Year and Tamriel Rebuilt mod pack and data. I'll close out my browser and open a console session to begin the OpenMW game setup and installation. Upon opening the console session, I'll issue the command ls. As you can see, I have no directory for games OpenMW or the assets required for OpenMW. So I'm going to issue the command mkdir-p games/openmw/high res and hit the enter key. I'll also make a temp directory for a location to extract the compressed files from. With these directories created, I'll issue the command cp, which is copy, downloads, setup TES Morrowind Game of the Year 2.007.exe to games OpenMW temp / and hit enter. Once the file is copied, I'll change directories into games OpenMW temp and issue the command INNO extract setup TES Morrowind Game of the Year 2007.exe and press enter. It'll take some time and the game will extract to your temp directory that you created for the game. you can come out, open up another directory for downloads, and then open up one for the game, and wait for the extraction to complete. Once the extraction is completed, you can go into APP, Data Files, hit Control A once you're in Data Files, copy, and copy the content of the data files into the directory you created, high res. You can also copy a few of the files. For example, the Morrowind's Prophecies Game of the Year Guide, the manual. If you'd like, you can copy the README file and the INI file. Once you've copied these files into your high-res directory, you can back out of the APP file and delete everything in your temp directory. Once that's done, you can CD back into your home directory and copy the file, downloads, Tamriel data HD 10.1.7z into your game's OpenMW temp directory. Once that file's copied over, you can change directories back into game's OpenMW temp and issue a 7Z X Tamriel data HD 10.1.7z and extract that file. Once that data has been extracted, we can return to our temp directory and begin to copy over files into the OpenMW high-res directory. You'll notice that many of these directories are nearly named the same thing. What you want to do to install the Tamriel data is to go into, for example, the directory book art, copy these files, and go into the directory book art and paste them. You'll notice that the directory book art is spelled different with a lowercase e than in the high-res directory file book art. So you can't just simply use the cp -u command to copy them over, because each of the directories has a different name. Then you can go and copy the entire docs directory into it. I'm not entirely certain if this directory is needed, but in case it is, I just copy the entire directory over. And then you go into icons, copy icons, go into icons in your high-res directory, copy off those directories into the directory icon. You come back out, copy meshes, come back up a directory, go into meshes, and paste. Once that's completed, you can go into the music directory, specials, and then TR loot theme, and then go into music, special, and paste the TR loot theme. I'm not certain if MWSE is needed. I believe this is already built into OpenMW. I think it says that somewhere on the website. But just in case I'm wrong, I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So I'll copy it over. And then I'll go into sounds. And I'll copy everything but the VO directory. And then I'll go into sounds in my high-res sounds and paste those directories. And then I'll go into my VO directory here. And in my temp, I'll go into my VO directory, copy these, and paste them in the under the high-res directory. I'll back out of those. I'll back out of that. And then I'll go into my textures, click Control A and select all of my textures and copy. And then go into my textures and paste. Once that's finished, I'll go back up to my high res and go back up to my temp, and I will copy the TR data, the Tamriel data, the Sky and PC, BCA files, and ESM file, and I will paste those into my high res directory. Once I'm finished with that, I'll select everything in the temp directory and delete it. Once I'm finished with installing the Tamriel data high definition or high resolution, I'll come back to my console and I'll change directories back into my home directory. Then I'll copy my downloads Tamriel Rebuilt 42145-23-10-hotfix1.zip, and I'll copy that into my game's OpenMW temp directory, and then I'll change directories back into my game's OpenMW temp directory and type in unzip Tamriel Rebuilt 42145-23-10-hotfix1.zip and extract those files. I'll come back to my file manager and I'll copy off core, the TR mainland, into my high res directory. factions, tr factions, into my high-res directory, and my Siege at Firemouth compatibility patch, and copy that into my directory. Once I'm finished copying these into my high-res directory, I'll go ahead and delete this package. Once that's finished, I'll change directories back into my root or home directory and copy downloads Tamriel /rebuilt 42.145 21.01 16 12 12 05 51.7z and copy that to my game's OpenMW temp directory. Once that's copied over, I'll change directories back into my game's OpenMW temp, and I'll issue the command 7zx Tamriel Rebuilt and extract that file. Once this file finishes extracting, we're going to go into the O2 preview content directory and copy the trpreview.esp and paste that file into our OpenMW high-res directory. And once we've added that, that should finish our installation of OpenMW asset files for our game to run. Again, I don't know if this preview file conflicts with anything from the Tamriel Rebuilt 42.145-23-10, but I realized that when I installed this without installing the preview file here, the TR preview ESP, my map wasn't entirely complete and I was missing the west coast. So I went back, extracted the preview file, and added the west coast back. And like I warned before, I don't know if that causes any conflicts with overlapping assets within the game. If someone else has more information about that, please voice that information in the comments below. But this should conclude our installation. You can go ahead and jump out into the game's OpenMW area, right-click on temp, and delete. And then you can change directories back into your home directory, if you like, in the console, or just close it out. With the installation complete, we can continue forward and set up the game within the game launcher. Once you run the game launcher again, it'll give you an error warning because it still hasn't detected where the game files are. But now we have a location for those game files. So we can run Wizard and then step through, select existing installation, hit browse, go to the user home directory, select games, OpenMW, high res, and then scroll down to Morrowind ESM and select OK, and then go to next, English or your language. There are Spanish, Russian, Polish, Italian, German, French, and English. And then you can import various settings, and then click Next, and then Finish. When it creates your... once you finish, you'll be able to go in and view that you do have data files selected. It'll have your directory path. Let me expand this a little bit so it's not scrunching some of the text. But you'll notice that it has the various plugins in your directory. Some of them are cautioned out because they need prerequisites. So we'll start by, well, you know what? There's two here. As you can see, there's two. One of the things that I like to do when I initially start this, just so I don't have this, I just play off the default. I'll delete this, right, which will blank it out, and then I'll reselect the Morrowind ESM, and then I'll set up the default content list. So I'll select area effect arrows, and I'll go through here and I'll select these, like Blood Moon does not activate unless you select Tribunal. And then the rest of these, as you can see, when I select Tamriel data, right, then the mainland becomes available, and then factions and the patch for Firemouth and preview and all these other things. And again, I don't know if this preview conflicts with the mainland file anymore because they're from two different releases. So you go into the data directory, it's where it should be. You go into the archive files and you select PC data, Sky data, TR data, and then when you come over here, this will create a navigation mesh cache. Basically, it'll create a file of this size in your directory file that helps things load faster. You can bump this size up if you want. This is a 2 gig file. I'll go ahead and leave it as a 2 gig file. And then you can select update. And this typically takes a while. I think at one point in time it took over a half an hour for this to complete. So once you select update, it'll go through and generate this mesh file. And it does take a little while for it to complete, so I'll simply fade to the finish. Okay, so this is nearing completion. It's vacuuming the database, and once it completes with that, which it should any moment now, there we go. It's now done updating. This actually creates a file inside of your, I think it's your .local share OpenMW directory. But once we're done with that, again, you can go back through and check to make sure everything's checked and everything's good. Then we can move on to graphics. And I often like to play it full screen. You know, like I like getting immersed in the game, right, rather than playing it with other stuff on the desktop. Anytime I need to switch screens, like if I need to like adjust the audio or do something, I can hit the Control Tab key and then scroll through the different applications that I have open, which allow me to do things of that nature. And then lighting, I largely leave this alone. I largely leave this alone, so I don't really do anything with shadows or lighting. Moving on to settings, I don't really do a whole lot with this. With this, I do toggle my sneak. I uncap damage fatigue. Going through here, I do always allow stealing from knocked out actors. Reticle. I don't really do anything here. This is a must, right? Non-playing characters avoid collision. I've literally had to kill non-playing characters before just because they wouldn't move out of my way, right? One of the things I used to do is get it like a frenzy human thing, and I would have to frenzy, like just cool, decent characters just because I couldn't move them, so I'd have to frenzy them in order to attack me, and then I'd kill them, so I would get them out of the way, and I wouldn't get a bounty on me for killing like just a normal innocent character. But this fixes that. So, like putting this, the non-playing character, avoid collision, as I walk up to them, most of them will move. I mean, there's some characters that don't, but most of them do move, and this helps to keep me from having to kill certain characters just because they don't step out of the way. The laptop that I'm running does have a quad core with hyperthreading, so I have 8 arithmetic logic units. They claim it's 8 processors, but it's really just 8 arithmetic logic units. So I do have 8 cores that can process. So I'm going to take this background physics thread and bump it up to 8. And then for visuals, I do like using the magic item, animation, weapon sheathing, shield sheathing. I don't really do anything with this. I think if I remember, I put on radial fog. This on this laptop, I believe, causes the sky to flash in the background, so I don't select it. And then this, I usually bump this up to a distance of 1, right? Because it's at 0.88, and I don't know if it's a big difference, but I'll often bump that up to 1. And then, that's generally how I set this area up, so that my viewing distance is 1 cell. Like I got that. I don't select that because it usually causes the sky to like freak out and flash in the background. I can't remember if I do smooth movement or not. I'll go ahead and select it and see if it ruins everything. Turn to movement direction. I ain't going to worry about that. And then I just leave the audio. As far as the interface goes, this is a must for how I play, right? The way that I play is I create a Crusader, right? I create a new class called a Crusader, and I play as a what I refer to as a Knight of Elijah, right? Biblically, Elijah was a guy who went out and mocked people, and I'll get into more of a description on that later. But this is a must because I do play the game with a high level of ethics. I try to be very ethical in the game. Like following the law, not stealing something if it isn't owned. If I know people are, even if it's not owned, if there's any kind of, like in one case, there's a bet over a knife, right? Like a dagger, and I don't take it because it's like, I'm not gonna ruin the bet these two people have. Anyway, for bug fixes, you've got merchant equipment fix. I like this one. I've never really noticed this one. I just know who I go to for training, and they train, so I don't really pay a lot of attention. This miscellaneous, I don't do a lot with that. And then this, I don't do a whole lot with that. So that largely sets up all the different aspects for the configuration of the game and how I like to play it. And a lot of times the audio is very much overdriven. Go into multimedia, pulse audio. When I hit the play button on this game, quite often the output from this game is very loud. And since I'm outputting it through my HDMI, I'll often turn the volume down on the HDMI, right? So it doesn't like blare people out of the room. And then I'll go back, and once I get my audio level set in the game, then I'll go turn it back up to like 90, so it's at a decent dB level. But largely when I play the game, especially initially when I launch it before I set all the volume levels, I'll turn down the gain on the audio. And then the other thing, if I launch it with the way the screen is right now, the game will show up extremely dark. In fact, it's so dark in some places that you can't see what it is you're doing. So one of the other things that I do is I turn up the gamma on this device. Since it's got a dual screen, I can come in here and adjust the gamma in my NVIDIA drivers, right? I can select on this. This is the HDMI, see HDMI. And then I could just jump it up here. But an easier way that I found that I use, rather than opening up my NVIDIA drivers, is that I just launch a terminal and then I issue the command xrandar output, and then since this is my HDMI, I put HDMI-0 gamma 1 is to turn it down back to its original setting, and before I play the game, I'll turn it up to a gamma of 2, and once I hit the enter button, you'll see the screen, the whole screen here will just get a lot brighter. Right, so there I just hit the enter button. On the video, you probably noticed the screen has just gotten a lot brighter, and I'll go back to the gameplay and I'll go ahead and press the play button, and hopefully my audio levels and my gameplay and all that is set at a decent level. So hopefully the sound isn't like blaring you out at the moment. I'll go ahead and hit that to let all the game load. I'll hit that. And then when I come in here to options, right, I do set my options. First, I turn on subtitles just in case my audio doesn't work. So, you know, you can read what they're saying rather than hear it. And then I do turn off the transparency of my menus. It just makes it easier when I'm like trying to see the font. The more you turn it on, the more difficult it is to read the font. And since I turned subtitles on, I want to actually see what they're saying. Quite often the music is so overdriven, I just turn the music off. I've played the game before and done these recordings where I've just had the music up to here, and at times the music will just drown out everything. And I'm like, wow, even with the music just barely up, it's drowning out everything. Effects, I turn way down. Footsteps, I turn down. Those are usually pretty loud. Voices, I usually don't turn those down a lot. Like if I do turn them down, they're just a little bit. And then the master volume, I turn down a little bit. And then once I know that the master volume's down quite a bit, and this just affects the game, it doesn't affect the intro. Like the intros are always just really loud for some reason. I don't know why. But I'll turn the audio down in most cases. Just because even though you can't hear it very well while I'm recording, when I play it back, it's just like the sounds are really overdriven. So I'll go ahead and go to controls. I am a southpaw, so I do set up my game console for my the keyboard controls for a left-hander. So here I take and my forward is the number 8 keypad, my back is the number 2, my left is 4, my right is 6, my run is the enter key, my sneak is the period or the delete key, and then my activate is the 5, and then for use it shows use none. Typically for use, that's mouse button number 1. So, and then for my jump, I typically set that up with a 0. So my running, jumping, and sneaking can all be operated with my right hand while my left hand's using the mouse. Then I come into, I don't have like a game controller. Well, I actually own several of them. I own like 5 or 6 of them. I just don't use them on this game. And then my video, since I am running the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, I turn up my field of view all the way. I actually use this as a sniper scope, right? Like if I'm in the game and I need to zoom in on a target to hit it with my bow, right? Because I usually use bow and arrow. I build up that proficiency and use bow and arrow. I'll come in here, right? I'll hit the escape key. I'll come into my video, and then I'll slide this all the way to field of view 30, and it zooms in on the character, and then I can use my bow to target them. But for the most part, I pull the field of view back all the way to 110. Then, since I am running the proprietary drivers, I do turn on the water shaders and the refraction. I turn on textures for high. When I'm using the Nuevo drivers, I have to turn these off, and I kind of run this on medium rather than high. It's just the proprietary drivers. The Nuevo drivers do work. They just don't offer the high performance that the proprietary drivers use for NVIDIA. And then lights, I don't really do anything in here, right? I just leave this. So just showing you how I set this up. I go to scripts. There's nothing here. Languages, of course, I selected English, secondary language. I don't have any. But again, I typically leave it on here so I can just hit the escape key and it pops up here. What's this? Oh, that's that. Okay, never mind. Anyway, I leave it here, and then I go to continue, and then since this is my first game, I'll hit new and start a new game.
They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name? Well, not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we've reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go. Quiet. Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me.
I don't know if anybody else finds it odd or weird, but they literally have a basket with a whole bunch of skeleton heads and bones around it. Like the people on the ship, they're playing some kind of weird skeleton basketball game. I'm not exactly sure, but I've always found it just a little odd that they use. It's just some kind of weird basketball game with skeleton heads. I don't know. I'll run to catch up with him.
Get yourself up on deck and let's keep this as civil as possible.
Yeah, this guy's so pleasant. Such a
On
nice
deck
guy.
now, prisoner.
Oh, okay.
This is
I
where
guess
they want you. Head down to the dock and I'll show you to
the
census
water's
office.
messing up. I unselect it and then usually select it again and it fixes it. So if I take that off, it often fixes it. And then I have played this with all the effects turned on for the water. But yeah, sometimes it glitches, right? So there we go. There we go. So if your water's flashing when you come off the boat,
Let's go.
you usually just go in and unselect the reflection and then go back and put it on afterward. And I don't know. I don't know why
Move
that's
it along.
Yeah, I know, dude. I'm just explaining. I'm explaining to my listeners what to do when the water's flashing. Didn't you see the water flashing? I saw the water flashing. I'm explaining to my listeners how to fix the water flashing quite often. So yeah, you just select the option. You unselect the option and then reselect it.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show from where.
Okay, I typically go with a Benton, change his hairstyle, not really hairstyle. I'm not really into the whole back of the head bald thing. I'm not bald, so not that being bald is bad. I'm just saying that it's not my hairstyle. This is closer to mine. I usually go with more of a like a military cut when my hair gets longer, it's this long, but then I'll shave it down to just like a strict like I'll just take like one of those buzz razors and just buzz it, and then I'll let it grow out to this, and then I'll buzz it, and then so forth. So yeah, but I don't think they have one of those guys. Just a guy who buzzes it, not bald, but like buzzes it short, like a military crew cut type thing. And then for the face, I'm trying to think of. Yeah, this is kind of what I looked like when I was in my 20s. It's probably the closest guy to my early 20s. I had more scruff, though, but it wasn't as thick. It was just, like, patchy. So, and I had the big ears. So he's got big ears. I had the big ears. So, yeah, that guy will do.
Great. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release. Head on in.
Ah, yes. We've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
Okay, when I get to this point, because I create my own class, my own like fighter class called a Crusader, I fill out the forms, and then I'm going to splice the video so that you don't have to watch me type all this out. So, like the description when I go into the class description, but Crusader. And this answers a lot of problems in the game because the main character lacks any motivation to really take on Dagoth. Like, why does he even care about going after Dagoth? If they're going to give him, like, I think they give him like $87 in this package, like, why even go to Balmora and see this guy, this Caius or whatever his name is? Why does he even go there? Why does he even accomplish this mission? So there's no real motivation for the guy to do that. Anyway, this class, right, this class description, the one that I'm going to type up and then talk to you about, it solves a lot of these problems because it gives this guy motivation and it gives him a reason as to why he was put in jail, right? This is why you were put in jail. It could also explain why he didn't have certain parents, right? He was born to uncertain parents and stuff. But it just answers a lot of the questions as to why this guy would even care. Why is he even going to go after Dagoth? So, I will pause it while I'm typing it up because it's a lot of typing and I don't want to bore you guys with me just sitting here typing. But anyway, I'll go ahead and design the character. He is a Crusader, and I'll get into this later once I get everything set and then show you like what the class is and the description and that kind of stuff. So I'll go ahead and splice it. Okay, I'm back. I've redesigned all these, right? Rather than strength and agility, it's not like strength and intelligence, and I gave them all my major skills, my minor skills. I put in my class description. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
This one, I just select that.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Okay, so this is my character. Here's all my major skills, my minor skills, miscellaneous, and that stuff. Okay, so I created this class description, but it's so long that it goes up instead of down off the screen. So I'm going to have to like give you an example of it later. So I'm going to go ahead and just click OK here. Yay.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
Okay, when I take it, there I got an inventory. It gives me that information. If you notice, all this stuff is in red. See, red, red. Yeah, he's not. It's all this other stuff is right. Red books, red stuff. It's all in red, which means somebody owns it. Right? Somebody owns it. Somebody owns it. Somebody owns it. So I can't take it, right? Because I'm not going to steal a bunch of stuff. The other thing that I wanted to point out here...
Continue through to the next building and talk to Celis Gravius.
Okay, if you notice, his name is Gancecil, right? Gancecil. Right, and then when you read this letter out here... Look. You come around here... It tells you, you should learn how to do combat. Pick up the dagger on the table by activating it with the keypad 5. So when you look at this, you'll notice the dagger isn't owned by anyone, but then when you read the letter, Gancecil in this Heurisker have a bet. This is, don't think I've forgotten our wager. I want this dagger sharp as a scam's claw by morning. So there's a bet over this dagger. So if I take it, then I'll be making Gancecil mad, right? That's Gancecil. It's this guy back here. Right? That's this guy. This guy right here. Right? That's him. Right there. I'll piss him off if I take that dagger because this other dude's supposed to get it sharp. So... But there are plenty of other things to take in this room. For example, like see how these are all owned? All the plates and the lamp and all these bottles? Well, guess what? This book right here, nobody owns it. That means if a guard was standing right next to me, I could take the book. So if you read the book, it's got, you know, this is basically all your different stars and all that other stuff. So, and how that stuff plays out. And then you can read each of these if you want. All right. The book's just worth $40 to me, so. Oh, I'll go ahead and take it. Sorry. And then they said that they were expecting me, and as you can see, the crab meat isn't owned. So that's my guess, is that since he says, we've been expecting you. I figured that's why they put out this plate with some food on it. So I'll go ahead and take the food. Because it's not owned. See, a lot of this stuff is like the plate, the silverware, the silverware bowl, the silverware, right? But this isn't owned. See, the Flynn, it's not owned. So I can take that. And then this apprentice lockpick, right? That's not owned. So I can take that. And then this silver candlestick isn't owned. So I can take that too. So as you see, this is the reason why I selected that tag that says show tooltips and stuff like that. So it highlights all this stuff, and it shows me like what's owned and what is not. So I know what I can lawfully take and not get in trouble for it. And of course, now I have a map. I'll readjust the map here pretty soon. Anytime I try to enter this without looking in the barrel, it just stops me and says that I have to look in the barrel. Look in the barrel, look in the barrel, check the barrel, check the barrel. So fine, I'll check the barrel. And then, of course, you've got the ring, and then here we apparently have a basket and a plate. So I'll just take it all. Right, and none of those objects were owned. So I can now go in and design my... heads-up display. I don't know what you'd call this. My categories thing. So I'll bring that down. I'll bring this over. I don't need a lot of space with this. I can scrunch this pretty good. And then I'll drop that down. And again, this will actually shrink as this grows longer, this will shrink. So, like for right now, right, I can put it here. A lot of times I'll put it up here, right, and then I'll just raise this stuff up like this. I feel like I've got a very small screen right now, right, because I'm used to my other desktop, which has a lot more. It seems like it has a lot more space to it, so yeah, I can stretch that out. I don't need this one to go very long, right? I don't need to make it very wide. And move it over here. Raise this up. I get all these in position first. And once all these are in position, then I stretch out my world map. Like so. And click on that. This shows. Okay, remember that preview thing? The landmass cuts off right around here if I don't load in that preview. And again, I don't know if this preview causes any of the assets to overlap with any of the newer stuff. If someone knows, let me know so I know that, oh, hey, there's some stuff that conflicts and overlaps. But I load in that preview, and I hopefully at some point in time I'll learn whether or not it overlaps or if it's okay. So, but if someone knows, let me know. But without that preview, there's this huge chunk right here that's like missing. It's just gone. So I add it just so I get some extra. And there's nothing active in here. There's nothing that's there's like no adventures, but you can get the plants and herbs, all the alchemy stuff. You can harvest that stuff from over here. So, but anyway. Oh, and there's a huge area over here missing too, that preview fills in. But again, I don't know if there's a problem here, and if there is, I'll have to uninstall the preview or just unselect it when I load. And I hope there isn't, because I do enjoy having the preview as an extra. But if it conflicts with anything here, then I'll just have to I'll have to uninstall it or undo it and create a new character that doesn't have the addition of that stuff in it. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, on with the beginning. This video, I figure I'll take this.
Your papers, please.
That sounds really creepy. Is this Germany circa 1939? Your papers, please. Anyway, here we go. Background, Morrowind, right? Duties. Go through these. I already know all these. If you want to read them, you can read them. I'm supposed to go find this Caius or Caius, whatever, guy, and give him this package, and I got directions, and then he hands me 87 gold. So I also know about the storage room key, right? This one over here. But as you can see, it's red, which means someone owns it. I'm not supposed to take it, right? That would be unlawful. So once I finish talking to that guy, I'm ready to head outside. Now I have a J button. Press J to use for the journal. I can read the journal. See, my orders are to go to the town of Balmora. I'm not going to do that for a while. I need to build up, become a hardcore, I am a knight, right? Knights of Elijah, I am a knight. I got to build up my stats again because I was put in jail on that ship, and oh, that's just that. And then
Hurry this up, will you?
I'm not the one who walked up to you, buddy. And then usually when I'm here at this point, I hit the escape key, and then see how you have the save button now. Then I start it. I create a save at the first chance I can save. So, Strigonian, start. So, and then this is my, in worst case scenario, I have to start all the way back at the beginning. So now I can load it all the way back at the beginning if I need to. And that is it for this episode of my Morrowind videos. So I'll try to get more uploaded sometime in the near future on how I play Morrowind, which I don't know if people will find that like a good thing or not, but that's it. Here we exit out, and I hope to see you next time.